Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Brian Trippe right here in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm so glad you decided to join us today. Got a great guest. It's going to give us some unbelievable information about a topic that's extremely relevant. But before we do that, I just want to do a couple of announcements. Make sure you guys are aware of what we got going on. Obviously, you know about the podcast or you wouldn't be listening to it. Definitely check us out on Facebook. We got tons and tons of content out there on our Facebook page. You can go to facebook.com/ALAREIA, ALAREIA. Our website is up and launched. All of our content's on our website as well. It's alareia.com. And make sure you're going to our meetings. Go to our pages and make sure you know when our next meeting is. Our next meeting is going to be on April the 13th. And that's when Matthew Gregory is going to come and speak to us about fixing and flipping houses. He's been doing it for about 15 years here in Birmingham, a little more than 15 years. And he's going to give us some great information. So make sure you look us up. April 13th will be at the Vestavia Hills Public Library at 6 p.m. So again, glad you guys joined us. I want to introduce our guest today. It's Mr. Bill Gulas from IRA. Is it IRA Innovations? Is that the name of it?
That's it.
Awesome, Bill. How are you doing today?
Doing well, thanks.
Awesome. I'm so glad you're here. This is a really great topic that I get asked a lot, and I know a little. I know enough to be dangerous, I guess, as they say. But you know, it's really good to get an expert in here that does it every single day. So just
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Give us just kind of start us off by telling us what it is that you guys do.
Okay.
And
we hold self-directed IRAs, and most people, you know, may have heard the term. They may have heard real estate IRAs. They may have heard alternative asset IRAs. Those are the type of things. And the misconception, I think, out there is that these type of IRAs are different than any other IRAs, and they're really not. You know, when the government set up IRAs, and most people don't do this, and I don't recommend it that you do, but you can find it in the Internal Revenue Code. You know, back when they first set up IRAs, they said they didn't put in there what you can invest in, like stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, which you can, but that's not in there. They put in what you cannot invest in, and it's very limited. The things that you cannot invest in within an IRA are antiques, and then it goes in and explains what antiques are: rugs, coins, stamps, baseball cards, antique cars, those type of things. You cannot buy life insurance in an IRA. It defeats the purpose because it's for retirement, so if you buy life insurance in the IRA, it kind of defeats the purpose. And you can't buy wine and liquor as investments in there. Any other asset can be bought within an IRA as an investment. So most people think the only things you can do are stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and CDs. And you know, since IRAs were first created, the banks, the brokerage companies, they lend you to think that that's the only thing that you can do, which is not the case. So what IRA Innovations does is we facilitate the transactions of buying investments that people want to do other than stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and CDs. Right. So while anything is available except the ones I was talking about, most people in their IRAs do one of three things. They either do some form of real estate. And when I talk about real estate, I'm talking about all types of real estate: single-family homes, condos, undeveloped land, timberland, parking lot spaces, you know, any type of what you would call a deeded asset. The second most popular is people invest in non-publicly traded companies. So private equities is what, you know, those type of things. And then the third is they're somebody's bank. They lend money. Right. So they'll lend money secured or unsecured. They'll lend it on just different things. So in terms of what you're trying to do, you know, the first part, the real estate, is part. But then you got the second part where you got people that may want to lend money to flippers or developers or things like that, so that you may find a source of funding also with people that have IRAs.
Gotcha. So I guess my biggest question then, as far as like the IRAs, like how does one get one that's self-directed? Like how does that
Well,
or can you set it up that way? Or
and like like I said, there's really not a difference. That the self-directed is just kind of a description. You set up an IRA just like you would any other way.
okay,
So just like you set up your IRA with your local bank or your local brokerage company, you can set it up with us. So you go and you open up an account, and then you can contribute to that account, or you can move money from an existing IRA to that account, or from a previously 401k into that account. So it's just like you would do it anywhere else.
but I could, like, if I had a Roth IRA,
Mm-hmm.
that it's not necessarily self-directed, is it? Do I have to do something to make that distinction?
No.
Okay.
So like I said, it's just in the industry, it is self-directed means alternative assets,
Right.
things other than stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and CDs. But the IRA is an IRA is an IRA is an IRA. Okay, it is set up for retirement.
Right.
You can make the same amount of contributions. Everything is the same, except in a self-directed IRA, you choose the asset that you want to invest in, and your custodian facilitates that transaction, and that's what we do.
Yeah, and let's talk about that then, because you just mentioned the word custodian.
Okay,
I couldn't do this on my own.
that's correct.
Okay.
Because all IRAs have to have a custodian.
Okay.
All right, a brokerage company, a bank. Those are usually the ones that you see most often.
So
a trust company.
What is a custodian? Like a
custodian is somebody that has been given the authority by the IRS to hold individual retirement accounts.
And I can't be the custodian because of my own account because I've got to
because the IRS says you can't.
Okay.
The IRS says
okay.
The custodians are banks, brokerage companies, trust companies. Those are pretty much. I can't think of anybody else that
right.
Credit unions.
Okay.
So some type of financial institution.
So that's what that's what IRA Innovations does is
we
act
are the
as
custodian,
custodians.
right?
Gotcha.
For individual retirement accounts.
So any IRA, if I have a Roth right now that I've been contributing to for the last 10 years and putting, I guess, what is it, 5,000, 5,500, whatever it is, just keep contributing. I can take that out of the stock market.
Right, okay.
I can take, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I can take the, no. We'll get to that in a second. I can take the money out of a stock market or have it to where it's not tied to stocks, and I can actually buy a piece of real estate with it.
That's correct.
Okay. And I need a custodian so if I locate a piece of real estate that I want to hold as maybe a rental, I just tell my custodian, here's what I want.
That's right.
And they just kind of handle everything from there.
And facilitate that transaction.
Okay. Okay. So the self-directed thing, to me, seems like a myth then.
Well, no, it defines in the industry kind of the type of IRA it is.
Okay.
Again, IRAs are IRAs are IRAs.
Okay.
It's just that your Charles Schwab's, your banks, anybody that holds IRAs can actually do this. I mean, we don't have any special privileges that anybody else doesn't have. Okay, they choose not to be in that business. Okay,
gotcha.
They choose to do stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and CDs. Not that they couldn't do or have the authority to do all these other type of assets. Just like us, we have, because we are a custodian, have the authority, if we wanted to do these other type of investments. We choose not to do that.
Right.
So everybody that is an IRA custodian has the opportunity to do the full breadth of what the IRS allows. Most companies only do certain parts of that.
Gotcha. So I'm sure you work with a lot of real estate investors.
Yes.
Correct? Is it almost all real estate investors that you work with?
No, I would say probably 37% of our clients do some form of real estate.
Okay. What other medium, what would the majority then, the remaining 60%
The next most common, which is probably about 30%, private equities.
Okay.
We talked about. And then probably another 27% lend money.
Gotcha.
And then you got the 5 to 7% that that include, well, the most common that everybody would think would be precious metals, gold and silver.
Okay. Yeah.
But we have people that have cows in their IRAs, livestock.
Sure.
Um,
Because you can do anything except the few
the
things
list
that you
that we
named
talked
earlier.
about. That's right.
So even the people that lend money, they're not necessarily lending to real estate investors, or are they? Is that the
No,
majority?
not necessarily.
Not necessarily. They can lend it to a sibling, or well, maybe not a sibling because that's you're getting conflict of interest.
Right.
But they can lend it to like another individual.
Right. And a sibling is good. And I don't know if we can get into this right now,
We
but
do.
there are certain disqualified people that your IRA cannot work with.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Well, go ahead and name them because
All right.
yeah.
And it's yourself. You can't lend money to yourself.
Okay.
All right. Your spouse, parents, grandparents, children, grandchildren, and their spouses. Direct ascendants and descendants.
Okay.
All right?
So if you're lending money out of an IRA, self-directed IRA, you cannot lend to these people.
That's right. Or you can't buy and trade assets between yourself and these people.
Gotcha.
These people can't do work for you that your IRA investments your IRA owns.
Gotcha.
But siblings, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, brothers, cousins, sisters, those are okay.
So your real estate investors that you work with, what are they doing in particular with a self-directed IRA? What do you see that's most common, and what do you see that's most successful?
It depends on the what you want to accomplish. Okay, so there are some that I've had that have bought a property and they rent it out, and the rental checks come in every month, and they've been doing that for 10 years. Okay, there are others that are in there that buy a property, rehab it, and sell it. There are others that, and there's everybody in between. There are people that wholesale. We were talking about this before we got started.
Explain that.
So, in wholesaling, you can do the same thing. You go out and you find a piece of property, you put it under contract. The earnest money is provided by the IRA, and this can be done with people that people say, "Well, I don't have a whole lot of money. How can I get started like this?" Well, this can be done with people with just a few $1,000s.
Wow.
And they go out there and they put this property under contract, and they wholesale it to the next person before it closes, and they sell the contract. The money goes back into the IRA to be used again for the next deal.
Yeah.
And you can quickly start to build, cash in there to do larger deals.
That's awesome. I do a ton of wholesaling, and I've never thought about that before.
Yeah, and then if it's and we're kind of jumping around here, but
No, it's
you had
okay.
mentioned a Roth IRA. So there are two types of IRAs.
Right.
Well, there's more than that, but we'll talk about the traditional and the Roth. So the traditional IRA is money that you put in pre-tax. So you put money in there, you can take it off your earned income this year, so you don't pay taxes on it. Everything in there grows tax deferred.
Wait, what did you just say? What was the last sentence?
Okay.
I can take money out.
But you're not taxed on it. So you make your contribution. So if you make $20,000 and you put in $2,000 in your IRA, you're actually taxed on the $18,000. Okay, it's like you never even made that money.
When?
When you make that contribution.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm not personally taxed.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
I was thinking
And then
with the
everything.
tax inside.
Okay. And then everything in there grows tax deferred.
Okay.
So you don't pay taxes on it as long as it's in your IRA. And then when you take it out, it is taxed as ordinary income.
Right.
Okay. A Roth is exactly opposite.
Right.
Okay. A Roth, you put money in after tax. Okay. And then that money goes in there, and anything that you make on that money is tax-free forever.
It grows tax-free.
It grows tax, but you take it out tax-free too.
Right.
Yeah, because both of them grow tax-free.
Oh, I see.
And your traditional, when you take it out, you're taxed. In your Roth, when you take it out, no tax.
Now, how can I apply the tax-free model, the Roth part, to a self-directed?
Just like you would any other way. So let's take the wholesaling example.
Okay.
Okay. So I make a contribution of $3,000 into my Roth, and I go out there and I find a property and I put down $500 worth of earnest money. Okay. And then I turn around and I've got somebody that I know was looking at it or can do something with it, and I turn around to them and I sell that contract for $1,500. So that $1,500 goes back into my Roth. So now I have my initial $3,000, plus the $1,000 I made on my wholesale deal. So now I got a total of $4,000 in there. I can turn around and do that, consistently. And then let's say I get to a point where I've got money in there. I've got, I don't know, $25,000, $30,000. I'll go buy a house. I may borrow some money, rehab it, sell it. The money goes back into the IRA.
So you can fix and flip out of an IRA.
Oh yeah. So anything that you can do outside of an IRA, you can do inside an IRA.
Because I was thinking that would be lending to yourself, but you're actually buying the asset.
Buying the asset.
Okay.
You're doing rehab within the IRA. The IRA is paying for it because the IRA owns the asset. And then when you sell it, because the IRA owns it, the money goes back into the IRA.
Right. Now, I'm about to ask you a question that you're obviously going to have a huge bias against, but I've been debating this recently with some people. So IRAs in general, or even 401ks in general, you can't touch them until you're, 59 and a half? Is that right?
That's right.
How do you feel about that, not being able to touch your money until you're 59 and a half?
Well, okay, when you say touch your money, that would mean that you cannot personally enjoy it.
Okay,
so you can't spend it on yourself.
Right.
All right. But if you've got savings that are not within your IRA, that's to save for whatever you're doing. All right. Whether it's for a car, whether it's to buy a house or whatever it is, and you'll eventually spend that. IRAs were developed for retirement. This is for you to use in your retirement years.
Right.
So here's a vehicle that lets you save money tax-free or tax-deferred. Because if you're saving money outside your IRA, anything that you make is taxable. So now you've got this pool of money that you're growing, tax-deferred or tax-free. And then at 59 and a half, you can go, okay, I've done pretty well. I can start taking it out.
Gotcha. How'd you get into this, Bill? How did you start doing this?
That's an interesting story. So I was working for a company, and I left, and I had a 401k. And so I was going to roll it out, and I really didn't care to do the stock market. And I had another job lined up in the same industry. And so I went to I called my CPA and I said, can I buy real estate in my IRA? And he said, I don't know. He said, let me look at it. Come on in, let me look at it. Let's see what we got. So by the time I got there, he was there. He said, yes, you can. He found the places in the the IRS code. He said, yep, you can buy real estate in the IRA. He says, but while you were coming in, he says, you have to have somebody that lets you do it. So I've made some calls here. He says, I can't find anybody in town that does it. He says, I can't find anybody in the state that does it. I went, oh, really? So I went back, and that was before Google, Web Crawler or Yahoo or whatever, and did real estate IRAs. And a couple of companies popped up. And I called the first one. I said, my name's Bill Gulas. I want to open an account. I want to open an office in Birmingham. So we're not interested. Thank you very much.
Wow.
So I opened the second one. I called the second one, and I said, my name is Bill Gulas. I want to open an office. I want to open an account. I want to open an office here in Birmingham. They said, well, we're just starting to do franchises. He says, Birmingham was not on our top 10 list. He says, but come out and we'll talk. And within 3 or 4 months, I changed direction and opened an office. We were with that company for about 8 years, and they decided that they didn't want to be in the franchise business anymore. So a little over 5 years ago, we became independent.
Okay.
And so we've been doing this now for 14 years.
But it all started when you had your own 401k and you were trying to figure out
how to buy real estate in it.
Okay, so you are a real estate investor.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us.
And I've moved from because of the company. I really now don't have time to go out and look at things. So what I am now is I'm actually somebody's bank. Okay, so people will come and say, I've got this deal. I need this amount of money. It's going to take this much money. It's going to take this long to do it. Can we make a deal do that? And so that's what I do. now.
We'll talk about that off air. No, but that's fascinating to me because I feel like really everybody I've talked to on this podcast, this is number 14, and everybody I've talked to has kind of a similar story where they kind of, you wanted to get into real estate, but a lot of people just kind of backed into real estate. It looks like to me you kind of backed into IRAs.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So give me kind of your success stories. What do you kind of what's like the big? Have you seen like a huge returns from individuals that are doing this? And obviously it's better if you can self-direct it because you can get better than the stock market.
Well, I don't know maybe. See, I don't know that you can get better than the stock market because it's everybody's. This is what I tell people. I mean, and we've had numerous success stories. We've had people that have bought unimproved land and held it for a couple of years and then sold it for developers that were coming in. We've had, in terms of real estate, we were not that old when the crash happened, so we had some people that lost money, obviously, just like everybody did. I mean, sure. It's not really any different.
Sure.
But then at that point, we had people that came in and were able to buy subdivision lots from the bank for developments that had gone bad, and were able to sell them off to builders or other types of things, and so they were able to hold it within their IRA and do things like that.
Yeah.
So, what I tell people is, we give you the opportunity to invest in what you know, in the things that, because if you know the stock market and how it works and everything in there, you don't need to come to us. If that's what you know, then you need to go to a brokerage company and day trade.
Right.
All right.
Right.
If you know, we've got a company that does factoring, buys receivables, and that's what they know, and they borrow money from people's IRA and they give them a return, and they do that, and they send money every month or every quarter. If you are a real estate investor and you're doing this outside your IRA for you to raise money, to live on, for retirement, for whatever reason, then if that's your expertise, then why not do it within your IRA?
Right.
Why would you spend money at the stock market or CDs when what you know is the knowledge that you have is in real estate?
Yeah. You said something when you first started talking there about it's not necessarily better than the stock market to self-direct. That just comes back to how good of an investor you are?
That's exactly right. Because if there are people out there that, as buy the wrong property or buy it for the wrong price or didn't do due diligence in terms of determining how much rehab work needs to be done, that's not a good investment.
Yeah.
And just like in the stock market, if you saw Apple, 7-8 years ago and you thought this is going to be a great company and you bought 1,000 shares, you could probably retire now. But it's the due diligence, it's the knowledge that you have. It's just with any other type of investment.
Right. So anytime someone, I guess, is kind of controlling their future like that, controlling their retirement, give us some kind of cautions, some, because I'm sure that you've seen some success stories. I'm probably you've seen some, some bad stuff.
Right. And
give people like some cautions. Like what would you?
The biggest thing is, and just like again outside your IRA, is do your due diligence. Know what you're investing in. Know why you're investing in it. So again, it's no different than inside or outside the IRA. You want to know as much information as you can before you invest in pretty much anything, I would think.
For sure. Yeah, there's no question about it. So I'm personally getting ready. My wife just left her job, and she's got a 401k. She's had it. Kind of tell us about that. Like if you have a job and you have a 401k through that employer, you can't do anything with that. Is that correct?
That's mostly correct.
Okay.
I mean, correct
me.
There are a few, and they're smaller companies. They're usually professional organizations that will allow you to self-direct in a 401k. It just depends on what what is in the plan, what is in the 401k, the profit sharing plan.
Gotcha.
But it is legal, okay, to do self-direction in a profit sharing plan. You don't the company doesn't have to allow you to do that, and most companies don't. Most companies limit you to between 5 and 10 options. Most of them are funds. Most of them don't even let you do individual stocks, and that's from a liabilities perspective on the company side. Companies have been sued for people that have said, "You knew I was too stupid to make these decisions, so why did you allow me to do that?"
Wow.
And so that's why you see in 401ks now a very limited amount of options.
Wow.
But there are a few out there, like I said, usually in professional organizations, that allow you to do that. Now, when you leave a company, obviously you can take that money that has been accrued there and put it into a traditional IRA.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask you next. How would that process work? How do you do that?
So,
call Bill.
That would work too. But you go to wherever you're going and open up a traditional IRA. Okay, because 401ks have to go into a traditional IRA. Most of the time, that's not necessarily true. Some 401ks have a Roth component to them. That obviously you would roll over into a Roth. So like kind rollovers. So you go and open up a traditional or Roth, and then you go to your company and say, "I want to do a rollover distribution to, IRA Innovations." I'll make a plug.
Yeah.
And so you'll fill out their paperwork, and they'll write a check to the new IRA.
Yeah.
And you're set to go.
Yeah. Okay, kind of last direction I want to get. That's important because that's for me personally. So last thing I want to ask you about is, do you guys handle 1031 exchanges? How does that work?
We do not.
Oh, you don't do that?
Now, I'm familiar with them, but we do not handle 1031 exchanges.
Okay. Just real quick, because I brought it up, what is a 1031 exchange, and why don't you guys handle that? I guess there's some sort of laws.
And there are certain things that you have to do with them, and so that's just not a business we care to be in.
Okay.
1031 exchanges are when you sell a property. 1031 is the code, the IRS code that tells you how to do all this. It says you have a certain amount of time to pick a similar or better property than what you sold, and you have to close on a certain amount of time, and so there's no tax on the profits from that sale.
Right. But you guys could do that. You just choose not to.
Correct.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, that's it. Is there something I missed? Did I miss any?
The only other thing I think that might be interesting is how this is done.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe we missed the most important thing.
So once an account is opened and the money's moved over there, the client goes out and finds a piece of property. They will negotiate just like they do in for the property. When you have a final contract, you would send that to us to sign because we are the custodians. We sign all the documents.
Who's the buyer?
The IRA.
Okay. Just whatever the name of the IRA is.
Whatever the name is. It's the custodian, IRA Innovations, LLC, for the benefit of Brian Trippe IRA.
Gotcha.
That's the owner. That's what goes on the deed. That's how the contract is written. So there's earnest money. The IRA would then pay the earnest money. You go through the process of getting everything ready for closing. Closing documents are then sent to us to review to make sure vesting is correct. That's the only part that we do in looking at
what is correct?
Vesting.
Okay.
How it's titled.
Okay.
And then we send them to the client and ask them to look over everything, make sure everything is appropriate. They sign off on it for our benefit, that we know that they've looked at it and they've said, yes, all these documents are good. This is what I agreed to. Then we will sign the documents on behalf of the IRA, get them back to the closing attorney, wire the money out from the IRA. The only reason that the client has to go to closing is to pick up the keys.
Right.
Because they don't sign anything.
Right.
And then at that point, the IRA owns it.
That's it.
That's it.
Right. Just as easy as that. You call Bill. Bill will handle everything for you.
That's what we do.
Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and what's the best way to contact you.
The best way really is to call the office. We answer, we have a person answer every phone call. So we like talking to our clients. And that's here in Birmingham, 205-985-0860.
205-985-0860.
And you can find us on the web too, IRAinnovations.com.
IRAinnovations.com. Thank you, Bill.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing this. I hope you guys learned something there, because I sure as heck did. If you like our podcast, ask you every single time, please subscribe. Please rate us, review us. We appreciate all the love you give us. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
That's it.
All right.